Let me just press start. All right, the reason I'm recording this is you can do these kind of experiments. And here's an experiment you can do in this. I do it in school and I've done it at home, and it's chop up an eyeball. Now, like all things, you've got to ask your parents before you can do it. You've got to get their permission. And the reason I'm saying that is if you decide to do this and you go, right, but where do I get an eyeball from? So I got eyeballs and hearts from my local butcher. I'd go in and say, dude, I need an eyeball. Can you get me an eyeball? They'd look at me and go, what for? I says, well, I'm teaching science. So in school, I would do the dissection of the eyeball. And I've done it at home as well with my kids. And the dissection of the heart and things like that when they were younger. So I honestly suggest you try to get yourself an eyeball from the butchers and dissect one. I can tell you stories about eyeballs because as some of you know, I was at the Stopford building, the medical building in Manchester, and I got to chop up human eyeballs and stuff. So, yeah, try it, but be careful. This is raw meat. You can get a really bad infection from it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you two things. One, you got to learn all this. Two, I don't like learning stuff. Now, here's the funny thing. What I mean by learning stuff is I like learning new things. I like understanding new things. I really dislike memorizing stuff. So in biology, you've got to learn all these names. And what's really funny is I never disliked it in biology. It's called anatomy and physiology. I never disliked learning this. So if you say to me, right, you're doing French, you've got to learn the feminine and masculine. Oh, I can't be bothered. You're doing history, you've got to learn the dates. Oh. And I think one of the reasons, when you're young, you don't really know why you like doing stuff. And I think one of the reasons I like learning anatomy was I used to love drawing. I used to love drawing things. I grew up in the 70s with comics like the X-Men. There was none of this Marvel Universe movie malarkey. We had proper comics. When comics were comics, So we used to draw these. And so I took that kind of drawing into anatomy and physiology. And I used to love, we'd chop up the eyeball. I remember chopping up the eyeball at uni. And I'd sit and draw it. I remember very clearly once sitting there for hours in one day and drawing the heart in detail and labeling it. And I really enjoyed the drawing. So I think it was this nice bit, looking back on it, drawing things and labeling. And that's probably why I really like mind maps, because I get to draw. Anywho, do it home. Right? Chop the eyeball up. So I kind of think there's ways of I'm just going to learn stuff in order. And there's the other thing, which is learn what I'm interested in. All right. So first thing, this is the eyeball, right? And this is the lens. So this is where light is bent. And I like this. And I'll tell you why I like this. So this is the lens. And light comes in and hits the back of your eyeball. That's called the retina. That's where all your light receptors are. So light comes in, your lens bends it. And then there's some light sensors here, and they send an electrical impulse, sensory neuron, through the optic nerve to your central nervous system, to your brain. And last week we looked at the structure of the brain, and it's really interesting about the brain. Remember I told you about the cerebral cortex, the bit round the outside? That's to do with consciousness. Well, that's you. Now here's the funny thing. Is how I remember this. What do you actually see when you open your eyes and you look around? When you look at the camera right now, you'll see my gorgeousness. I get it. But do you really? Because what's happening is light is going through your lens. It's being focused on your fovea here, right at the back. And it goes through your optic nerve. And it goes to your brain. The part of you that is thinking right now, the part of you that is self-aware, the part of you that is you, is in your cerebral cortex. Do you actually see the light? Well, no. All you're getting is the electrical impulses down the optic nerve. All right, so that's one really cool thing and one way that I kind of remember stuff. The second thing is we looked at reflexes, and your iris is the part that's coloured. Now, I've got brown eyes, other people got blue eyes, green eyes, and things like that. So your iris is the part of your eyeball that's coloured. The pupil is the hole in the middle that looks black to us, where all the light goes in. So what you've got is, right, you've got a set of ligaments and a set of muscles, ciliary muscles, that change the shape of your lens. All right. Now, that's so that you can see things that are close, and it relaxes and your lens gets fatter so it can bend more light. And if they tighten, right, if the suspensory ligaments tighten, they stretch out your eyeball so you can see further away. Now, your light is supposed to land here, right in your retina. But there are people like me who are long-sighted and people who are short-sighted. And we'll have a look at that in a moment. So that's your pupil. Your cornea is the bit of material on the outside. Your sclera is the white part of your eye. The white of your eyes. All right? The conjunctiva is on the outside. And those are things you need to know. All right. Now, what's interesting right there is your blind spot. Okay, you can't see anything there because it's where your optic nerve goes in. And you can do some really cool things with that and see your blind spot. All right, things you need to know. Retina contains light receptor cells, which we did before we broke up, that detect light intensity and colour. Your optic nerve carries those electrical signals, electrical impulses from the retina to your brain. The sclera is the white part. The cornea is the front. Now, this is interesting. Bends light into the eye. It actually, the cornea, so it's not just your lens that bends. Your cornea here bends some of the light a little bit in, and then your lens does the rest of it. All right, your iris is a coloured part. The pupils are all in the middle. The ciliary muscles, muscles that contract or relax to change the shape of your lens. Suspensory ligaments, fibres that hold the lens and work with ciliary muscles. The lens, the transparent disc. The way I think of lens is the same way your lens in your glasses. You got this really cool word, accommodation, and that ain't where you live. All right, it's how your lens changes shape to see things that are close or far away. Reflex action, we looked at that before half term. Your pupils will dilate, get bigger, or constrict, or get smaller, depending on how bright the light is. And the way I remember this is, if it's a really bright day and you accidentally look at the sun, do not do it on purpose. Right? I've done it so many times I accidentally look at it. Can you imagine how much damage that's going to cause to the back of your eyeball? So what your iris does is cover more of your eye. Your pupil, the whole bit, gets smaller. All right. Words you may never heard before. Myopia, short-sighted. All right. Can see near objects, but distant objects are blurry. Light focuses in front of the lens. And what that means is the light comes in, and let's do a different colour. All right, it's not going to work like that. Let's clear some of that. Let's do a different colour. So the light comes in, right, and I'm going to go for a pink. Light comes in like this and like this, right? And instead of focusing here, it focuses in front, and it's short-sighted. That's myopia. If you're long-sighted like me, your light comes in, your lens doesn't bend it enough, and it focuses. Oh dear, my lines are terrible. Right here at the back, right? That should be a straight line bending from here, right, and focusing just at the back there. Anywho, I think you get the image. I think you get the image. Oh dear. Right. Hyperopia is what I got. I'm long-sighted. I can see things really far away really clearly. Okay, now I put this in here. Vasodilation and vasoconstriction. This has nothing to do with the eyeball. That's to do with thermoregulation, how your body keeps the same. Just be careful because students get that mixed up. So that's nothing to do with what we're doing today. All right. Key things. The eye is a sense organ that detects light. Light is focused on the retina and impulses are sent along the optic nerve. In bright light, the pupil constricts to protect the retina. In dim light, the pupil dilates, that means get bigger, to allow more light in. Accommodation. If you look at near objects, like right now your computer, your ciliary muscles contract, suspensory ligaments loosen, and the lens thickens. Looking at distant object, your ciliary muscles do the opposite, they relax, your sensory ligaments tighten and lens becomes thinner. All right, eye defects, correction with glasses, contact lenses, or what I got in my mid-20s when it was first invented, laser eye surgery. All right, so you got a set of questions. What part of the eye controls the size of the pupil? You can come over here and you can see the iris that controls how much light enters the pupil. So go back through these really short notes that I've made. What happens to the pupils in bright light? It constricts. That's up here. So we'll draw a line from here to there. Describe how lens changes shape on near objects. That's here. Write down your words and you want. The next question is here. What is the difference between myopia and hypermyopia? Myopia, you can focus on near objects but not distance. Hypermyopia is long-sighted. You can focus on distance but not near. How can laser surgery correct vision problems? It actually changes the shape of your cornea. It burns into it. Okie dokie. Your easy, medium, and tough questions. That's your job. I am going to stop. Oh my God, 11 minutes. I'm shutting up. That's far too much chin wagging.